Hi, my name's Devin Helming. I'm with Asmus Farm Supply, and I just want to give you a little bit of an update on corn rootworm. The reason why we want to do this right now is because we're seeing lightning bugs, and lightning bugs have the same emergence time frame that we see with rootworm larvae. So that is kind of a topic right now that's present. A couple things I want to talk about. One are thresholds. Also, what might be some potential risks that we're looking at from corn rootworm. One of the challenges with corn rootworm is at this stage of the game, you can see, corn's been up for a while. There's not a lot of management options that we have for today to handle the problem today at this stage. If there's going to be root feeding, we're going to see that. This is just getting some new roots here, but what you do is you can take your shovel and dig a plant, and then I've actually got an attachment that you can click on, and this that shows kind of how you score. But if there is half of a node would be eaten by your rootworm, then that's something you're going to have to come back and visit more. And if you have maybe a full node, so that would be all of the roots on this particular node here are gone or more, then you know that you've got some significant feeding going on. But you may, if you do have that, you might see some larvae crawling around in the roots, and that's one way that you can start to get an idea what you have. For this year, our options for managing really is around the adult beetle control, and what that means is when you're walking into a field after tassel, probably about 3 weeks after now or so, if you see beetles flying around and they're on the silks clipping, that's one potential risk. If you've got a high number of beetles that are clipping silks, that might be something that you need to watch for, and you can treat with a foliar insecticide. Another thing that we look at with the adult beetles is really getting the pregnant females.
As Devin just stated, this is the time of year to assess your rootworm feeding and the effectiveness of the trait in the corn that you've planted, or the effectiveness of the insecticide that you've applied at planting time. If you see you have feeding at this point in time, there is no synthetic chemistry that can be sprayed or put on the soil at this point in time to control the rootworm beetle. In the old days, we had a couple products. We had Furidan and we had Lorsban, chlorpyrifos, the active ingredient. None of today's foliar insecticide ingredients are effective on the soil to control the rootworm feeding at this point in time. So we have a couple options for management of rootworm pressure. We need to control the population of the adult beetles that are laying eggs for next year's hatch. That would be number one. Number two, address it very strongly next spring with a traded hybrid and an insecticide applied at planting time. So what's available yet this year to begin to control the population of beetles that will be flying in July, August, and early September? The best product is Steward from FMC. Steward is the best at controlling rootworm beetles because it's got the longest residual control on the plant of 21 days. As you are probably well aware, and many of you do, you put an insecticide in with a foliar fungicide on corn. This isn't so much to control rootworm beetle populations, although it will kill a few of them. Those products do not last nearly long enough to continue to be present as gravid females are laying their eggs. Our fungicide application many times is on the calendar based on when the fungicide should be used, and the insecticide is just thrown in. If you're really serious about controlling rootworm beetle populations, we would need to schedule our foliar application around the application of Steward insecticide based on gravid female population, not on the fungicide. To repeat, if you have rootworm feeding right now, The ship has sailed. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do to correct that. And now your management practice should be centered on controlling the beetles that will lay eggs for next year's population.
The option we have with adult beetle control is, maybe silk clipping's not a big issue, but we want to try to control the beetles that are laying the larvae for next year, the eggs for next year. So then we want to be targeted in the timing of our application about 2 to 3 weeks after we see the initial beetles. That's when your pregnant females are going to be emerging typically. So you want to kind of be a little strategic in your timing with the insecticide. The real thing that we need to stress with corn rootworm is that's a long-term management. And what we're fond of saying is we want to break the cycle. So again, just going back, we like to break the cycle. So if there's one way we can use is rotation. Maybe we throw an extra year of corn in there. If we're continuous corn, let's get a rotation of beans in there. Another way you can do it is these corns have the hybrids have various trait packages, and there's innovations that are coming on the rootworm trait side, but for right now they don't come real fast, so we want to make sure we steward these traits well. Our planter is equipped with it. Let's go with some row applied insecticide just to keep those guys guessing. So it's really a long-term management that we look for with the rootworm. I want to summarize again. We're starting to see the lightning bugs, so we've seen them maybe for a week now here or so. So we know that the rootworm are out there. There are reports across the area of guys that dig, and some pockets are more hot spots where they're finding some rootworm larvae. So the timing is now to start seeing that. And if you have questions, feel free to follow up with your local AFS representative.